Hey everybody, so in this video we're going to be talking about applications of functions. Alright, so we're going to have a whole bunch of different types of applications in here, but all of them are just doing something with functions. Alright, so let's look at this first one. The perimeter of a rectangle is 160 meters, and for part A we need to express the area as a function of the length L. Alright. So for part A, what it's asking is we know the area is length times width. What we want is area as a function of L. All right, so just like we had f of x, f was kind of just the name of the function, and x was the variable that we're using. Well, I'm just using A as the name of the function for area, and we want it to be a function of L, right? Which means we need to somehow get rid of W. All right, and that's where we look at this part up here. All right, so before we come back to the A of L part, we're going to talk about the perimeter. So we know the perimeter is 160. Oh, sorry. So if the perimeter is 160, then we know perimeter is P equals 2 times the length plus 2 times the width. All right, but we know P is 160. So we got 2L plus 2W. All right, now remember, in the end, what we're trying to do is get the area as a function of the length, right? Which means somehow we need to replace that W in the A equals L times W. Well, to replace W, we can just solve for W over here in that perimeter part. All right, so we're going to solve for W here. That way we can just replace it in the area part. So if we solve for W, that means first thing we need to do is subtract 2L from both sides. So we get 160 minus 2L equals 2W. And then we can divide both sides by 2. That's going to get us 80 minus L equals W. All right, so that's perfect because now this is something that we can replace W with. All right, so if we come over to the A equals L times W again, W can be replaced with 80 minus L. So we have L times 80 minus L. Which if we just go ahead and distribute that, we're going to get 80L minus L squared. Now there's no more W's, it's just L. That's what we were wanting. All right, so our function, if we just write it in order with the exponents, would be negative L squared plus 80L. That's what we were looking for part A. All right, we got a function that's for area, but only using the length. All right, so for part B, find the area if the length is 15 inches. So this is why this function is useful, because now we're just given the length. Normally we can't find area with just length. We would need the width as well, but we already found this function that lets us do it just with the length. So we're going to find the area if the length is 15, which means we just plug in 15 everywhere we saw L. So it's negative 15 squared plus 80 times 15 So that's going to be negative 225 and then plus 1200. Right? And then if we just add those two up, we're going to get 975. All right, and now remember, we're talking about area, so this would be meters squared. And there we go. We're done with number 1. All right, for number 2. The formula for changing degrees C into degrees F, so Celsius into Fahrenheit, is F equals 1.8 C plus 32. So for part A, express this as a function of degrees C. All right? So we want this as a function of C. Now, the good news is C is already the only variable in this part. No rearranging needed, no plugging in needed. We can just rewrite that. 1.8 C plus 32. All right, part B, evaluate it for C equals 40. So we want F of 40. So F of 40 just means we take 40 and plug it in where C was. Right? And then we just start multiplying all this out and adding it together. So first off, we have 1.8 times 40 would give us 72. Then plus 32 would give us 104. All right, so it's 104 degrees Fahrenheit. And that's all there is to 2. All right, for the rest of them, they're going to be a little bit more money-oriented. We're going to kind of go back into finance just a little bit and talk a lot about revenue and profit and things like that. So number 3, for a certain company, the revenue function is given by R of x equals negative 0.5x squared plus 100x, and the cost function is C of x equals 400 plus 16x plus 0.4x squared for x units of the product when x is somewhere between 0 and 100. All right, so first off, the revenue function, that just means for X number of units that you produced, this is your revenue that comes in. So if you plug in, say you make 10 units, if you plugged in 10, it would tell you how much money you're going to make from 10 units. All right. The cost function, that one tells you how much it costs to make those 10 units. So if we plugged in 10 into here, then it would just say, here's how much it costs you to produce those 10 units. All right, so for part A, we want the profit function P of X. So profit just means we take how much money did we get and subtract how much did it cost to make. The difference is our profit. All right, so for profit function P of X, that is just going to be the revenue function R of X minus the cost function C of X. All right, so anytime you're trying to get profit from revenue and cost, this is all you have to do. Take the revenue function and subtract the cost function. All right, so let's actually do that for this problem now. So P of X equals R of X minus C of X. And in our case, R of X is negative 0.5 x squared plus 100x minus, and I'm going to put this in parentheses, which is really important because we want to make sure that we remember to distribute in a second. So minus that cost function, which was 400 plus 16x plus 0.4 x squared. Now, I already said it, but next step is going to be distributing that negative. So we have negative 0.5x squared plus 100x, that part's not changing. Then minus 400 minus 16x minus 0.4x squared. All right, and if we just combine like terms now, we can combine the x squareds. All right, that's going to give us negative 0.9 x squared. We can combine the x's, which is going to give us plus 84x. And there's only one number, nothing to combine it with, so minus 400. All right, that is our profit function. All right, so if we plug in any number of units into this new function that we made, it'll tell you how much profit that you're going to make off of it. All right, part B. What is the profit on the sale of 55 units? So we want the profit for 55 units. Luckily, we just made that profit function. So we just plug in 55 into it. So we have negative 0.9 x squared. Sorry, I should go ahead and plug it in. So times 55 squared plus 84 times 55 minus 400. All right, now at this point, I highly recommend just putting all of this into your calculator. And if you do that, then you should end up getting 1,497.50. So if you make 55 of these, you make $1,497.50. All right, and that is it for part 1 of this. And in the next video, we'll go over some more examples and some more types of these more finance-oriented word problems. So I will see you in the next video.